Flosstube! Welcome to my channel. This is Alfie. I'm Jess, also known as CrossStitch Jess. Sorry, I'm really excited. My neighbour has just bought me some sandpaper. As you do. Anyway, where am I at? What's going on? It's been a year. It's been a year since I had a spontaneous idea, did a thing and uploaded it before I could change my mind. It's been a bit of an unreal year, especially that first few weeks was a little bit like surreal that so many people watched that first WIP parade. But clearly it's been working for me because I'm still here. I've really loved sharing my stitching. It's really helped me stay motivated. It's sometimes when I've shown I guess that doesn't really make sense. I was going to say when I've shown a WIP I've not worked on for a while, but I mostly show WIPs that I've just worked on. But anyway, talking about it keeps me accountable. I enjoy sharing it. I love hearing and reading all your comments. I feel like I've made some genuine friends through doing this, like people I perhaps never would have crossed paths with, or maybe I would have gone to a retreat with but never had a chance to chat to. But now, like, I'm going to a retreat next month and I'm really looking forward to meeting a Flosstube friend, so I'm hype for that kind of thing. And I thought a year on felt like a really nice time to come back and do a WIP parade. Something that I learned doing my start of year WIP parade is I don't particularly enjoy the whole, well, not that I don't enjoy watching them, I enjoy all WIP parades, but for me, I really enjoyed my very first episode where I literally just got my WIP box and just pulled bags out at random and we just went for it. I didn't enjoy the process of having to go through and put all my WIPs in order and do them in chronological order of start date. But to be fair, I think that's because I was a bit burnt out on all the Christmas starts, and then coming straight off of a day of doing 12 new starts into a day of organising all my WIPs and then talking about them was a bit much. So WIP parade today, and then I'm going to do them 6 monthly. So I'm going to do an anniversary one in August, and I'm going to do a pre-March Madness one in February next year. So they'll still be 6 monthly, but a bit offset from when most people do their 6 monthly WIP parades. And I'm going back to the original for today at least. I've got my entire WIP box here. I'm just going to pull bags out. We're going to roll with it. I know a lot of people find new Flosstubers through WIP parades, so I feel like I've sort of given a half introduction there. But here's a proper one. My name is Jess. I live in the UK in Birmingham. I live with this one, Alfie, who is our 5-year-old cockapoo who just wants to be loved. So he gets featured a lot because as soon as I'm sat on the sofa he's like, oh, cuddle time, can I come snuggle with you? Also live with my husband John. I work in technology consulting. So what I do is quite like technical. It involves coding. It's very thinky, which I really enjoy. Like, I chose that career because I really enjoy that thinky problem solving vibe. But I then really enjoy cross stitching because I think it's a little bit of a mental shutdown. Like, I don't really have to think about it. I use Pattern Keeper to track my patterns and things, but like I'll quite often be stitching and watching TV or listening to an audiobook or something. My stitching vibe, I guess, is usually quite like bright colours, modern. I tend to not do things by the book, so I'll quite often pick like really pick quite unexpected fabrics or change thread colours or mash two patterns together. I like to call them Franken stitches. Yeah, I don't know, maybe as I go through I'll realise that actually I'm a bit more conventional than I think I am, but I think a lot of the time I will find something on a pattern to tweak or change or adjust, and I like it that way. It's like, I've done a little bit of designing my own patterns for family. Like I did some bedroom door signs for my nieces and my nephew, and I designed those myself, like with black work fill in the letter, and then like taking elements of, they each had like a favourite animal or creature, so like I did those, and sort of placed them from other patterns onto my design. But by the end of it, like I was like creatively drained, and it was quite nice to go back to just a pattern that tells me where to put the stitches. So like I'm kind of that in between. Like I like having a pattern because it means I don't have to think, but I like changing a little bit of it, like maybe change, like put some sparkle in, add some beads, like pick some interesting fabric, but it means I still get to ultimately follow the pattern on where to put things. So that's been my stitching. Outside of stitching, I make project bags. That's the easiest one to pull out. This is the style of project bag I make with a diagonal zip. They're fully fabric and lined on the inside and quilted. What else do I do? I don't know. I board game. Me and my husband met through board gaming. We do that a lot. I enjoy reading. I enjoy a bit of video gaming. I like watching really trashy TV whilst I'm stitching. Below Deck is a favourite. You don't really need to actually watch it half the time. You just listen to the drama. What else? I think that's about it. Work, fun. I do quite a lot of stitchy days and stitchy retreats. I've massively overdone that this year, so next year is going to be a bit tamer. Next year I'm doing fewer, and I'm aiming to do new ones, because I feel like this year I got sucked into, I really enjoyed one by a particular organiser, so I'll go and do all of theirs the next year. It means I've signed up to lots of them, but kind of gone to the same ones multiple times. So next year I'm aiming for, oh, got an Alfie hair stuck on my face. Next year, fewer, and I'm trying some new ones rather than just doing the same ones over and over. So that's fun. I think that's about it in terms of intro. I think. Have I forgotten anything? I've forgotten the tummy rubs. Okay. Yeah, let's crack into it. As I said, I'm going to be pulling these out in no particular order. If you have watched my previous episode, my last update, these first couple of projects will be familiar. This is another thing about me. I forget words in the middle of a sentence. I just roll with it. It's fine. These ones will be familiar because they're still out from doing that. So would you mind scooching over a little bit? Could you scooch over? Middle. We've had to teach that I normally sit here and my husband normally sits here, and the middle is his spot. If he's getting a little bit too in your personal space, we've had to teach him scooch back to the middle. Okay. This doesn't bode well. The way that he's laying, you can see his feet. If he's laying the other way, then he'll just lay there chill. If he's laying this way, he will constantly demand my hand for tummy rubs. Can you scooch in? Scooch in. No. Scooch in. Flip over. Come on. Scooch round. There we go. Now we can be snuggly. You can be tucked up next to me without... No, he's immediately... This does not bode well. We're gonna roll with it though. So my first whip, I probably should have brought my board over, but I have not. So yeah, first whip. This is sideways. This is one of the Magic School Sal tiles from Circle Cross. Again, for anyone new, I'll always have an information banner at the bottom with all of the details, because I am terrible at remembering to say all of it, and I'll usually have like what it will look like finished up in the top corner. If there's ever anything I don't say that isn't there that you want to know, just drop me a message on Instagram or in the comments, and I will happily answer any questions. So yeah, Magic School Stitch Along, which had finished long before I even discovered the designer. 25 tiles, each one with a different like magician theme. This one is Invocation, which, I mean, I'm stitching these as like a series for my husband because he is very, like, he's into D&D and he is always a wizard, so I thought this was a fun way to have different like sort of wizardy vibes. Invocation is a particularly important one for him. He does a lot of LARP, which is live action roleplay. He's literally in a field as I speak, doing the wizard. Although I might be wrong. Anyway, Rituals or Invocation is like his first LARP character's specialization. So this one is like probably the most important one I'm going to do out of the 25. Is the one that will be most relatable to him and his characters. So I've made a small start. These are, I don't know if you can tell, these are black work rather than cross stitch. I really enjoy a bit of black work. It's different and I like that. These ones are challenging black work. They, I would say, are not necessarily where I'd suggest starting for a beginner. Steady Thread or Peppermint Purple are great beginner places. Urban Stitches kind of bridges beginner into more like way more complicated. So check her out as well. Yeah, these ones, I'm stitching this over 3, which adds more complexity. Sorry if you can hear Alfie skidding around in the garden. No idea what he's doing. Yeah, I've done 4 of these already, so this is number 5, which would make me 20% of the way. Stitching these with Rachael from Stitch Ecology. She influenced me to start the project, and I've influenced her back to restart it and do them on individual pieces of fabric. So yeah, we're doing this one together. Not on any particular set schedule. We're just gonna sort of keep nudging each other, like, how are you getting on? Are we, like, should we start thinking about the next one, kind of thing. This fabric was from a destash, so I don't know the source, unfortunately, but it is absolutely gorgeous. And interestingly, she and I both picked orange for this one without any consultation. We both individually picked the same colour fabric, which was kind of cool. Next up, my oldest and my second biggest WIP, I believe. I don't think I've started any other really big ones. This is Beyond the Horizon by UnconventionalXstitch. This being my oldest, I think I started in 2022. I'm about 47% of the way, I think. And as you can see, I am sort of mostly doing this extreme cross country. This top corner, I did at a point where I felt like I was making no progress and I wanted to be able to see progress, like a block of progress. But I've now, having finished all the dark blue and then not touched it for a year, I've gone back to extreme cross country. So I finished a colour on this recently and I'm working through my next colour. And although you don't see the progress as obviously, like if I took a photo of this having finished 5 colours, you wouldn't see much difference, but it just works for my brain. It works a lot better than trying to do, like, for a while I was trying to do like I tried for the first time, I tried working in a page. It just made me want to never stitch on this again. I just hated it. So yeah, we're going with this instead. Extreme cross country all the way. I want to keep working on this. It's the one that I've got out at the moment to be working on when I do come and sit down here and chill. We're just gonna see how it goes. I'm not gonna put any pressure on it, but I want to keep that one in sort of active rotation if I can. Just because I don't want it to languish forever. I picked it because I love the artwork and I think it will look really cool, especially in our guest room, which has like a dark blue wall, and like there's NASA posters, like sort of retro 80s vibe NASA space tourism posters that are completely free. You can find them online and you can print them and have them up in your house as artwork, which is what we've done. So we've got like a sort of space vibe in there, and I think that would look really cool. had that idea in mind when I started it 3 years ago. So here's hoping that one day, hopefully before we move out of this house, I will follow through and finish it. Right, what next? Let's go for this next because it's going to be awkward in the middle of the box otherwise. This is my twisted band sampler. I don't have the cover picture handy, so I'll pop that in as usual. Oh, it does just about fit. There we go. This is my twisted band sampler. This is by Northern Expressions Needlework, I think it's called. Needlework shop. Yeah, this is a very popular design, so there's a good chance you've seen this elsewhere. I am doing this in my own colour scheme, inspired by Sherrie, in a sort of tangential way. She did a pair of Quaker sisters, so she did like a light, I don't think it was a white, but like a sort of off-white on dark grey, and then did a sort of bluey grey on a light grey fabric. And every time she showed them, I was like, I need a project like that. So I'm doing this one in like a light pastel rainbow on a dark grey fabric. And then there's another pattern in a similar style from the same designer called Rainbow Band Sampler. So this one's Twisted Band Sampler, the other one's Rainbow. I'm going to do that one. It's basically the same vibe, but the diagonal stripes go the other way. And it's got different specialty stitches and designs in. I'm going to do that one in like a dark rainbow on a light grey background. So I picked the colours for this myself, and then, excuse this, I unpicked the wrong bit. I've done myself a little colour swatch there. This was like the biggest challenge of this project. I've had so many 18 colour palettes for this. Sometimes they're just like hypothetical ones. Sometimes I've bought all the threads and they've arrived and I've not liked them together. Since starting this, I've built up a whole DMC set, so I can now come up with a DMC colour palette without having to go and buy a bunch of threads and then decide I didn't like them. Obviously they will go in my stash and they'll all get used eventually, but yeah. The reason I've stitched it this way, with this long bit at the top and then the long side and then the bottom, I started in this top corner, as many people do, as the pattern sort of does, but having it in a Q-snap, or not a Q-snap, a nudge, for those top corners was easy, but by here it doesn't fit anymore without squashing some of the stitches, which I didn't really want to do. Put it on a scroll frame, but if I scroll down, if I'm scrolled down to start here, my sidebars are quite small because I quite like working at the bottom edge of the piece. I'd have to like start stitching up and then scroll a bit and then start stitching up some more and then scroll a bit and like keep scrolling and then scroll all the way back down to start the next one in this bit. So partly because of that and partly because I wanted to lock in my colour palette, I decided to stitch all the starts of the rows all the way down the side and across the bottom, so that one, my colour palette was locked in and I could not keep changing my mind because I knew I would if I didn't lock it in that way. And two, now when I have it on the scroll bars, I have the scroll bars set here. I can work, I get the variety of working on a bunch of different colours and a bunch of different stitches, so I don't get bored of just doing like, some of these are really long bars. I don't get bored or sick of a particular specialty stitch. I can change it up. I get a bit of dopamine every time I finish a row in that section, and I get the excitement of going back and restarting some new bars each time I scroll up. So I'm basically doing like a 3-inch strip. No wet nose. You lay down. How are you so wet? How do you get your ears so wet when you drink water, dog? Oh, it's hurting my arm. Yeah, so work a 3-inch strip and then scroll up and work another 3-inch strip. So I'm constantly getting to swap between colours, swap between stitches, finish some, start some. It's the right amount of mixing it up, rather than getting bored of just doing the same thing all the time. I'm going to attempt to scroll and show you. There's the specialty stitches I really enjoy. I don't know how to do this. Let's just do moving my arms. really love this. I highly recommend the pattern. The instructions are excellent. They're very clearly laid out. Yeah, I would. So I have recharted this into a digital file so that I can have it in Saga. But what I typically do is have that up to be able to see where to place the stitches and what colour to do them in. And then I have the printed version of the PDF for like the how to do the stitch, which typically I only need to look at like at the start of doing that bar, and then once I've done one or two, like I just get into a rhythm. But I do have to have that two different, like the where to put it and the how to put it, because they're not on the same page in the pattern, which makes sense when you see how the pattern's laid out. But yeah, tip if you do get that one, find a way to have both. So that's Twisted Band Sampler. Let me move the project bag for that out as well, so I don't get lost where I'm at. What next? Let's just grab a random bag. This is Advice from a Sunflower, my lovely project bag from Rachael. We did a bit of a bag exchange when we did a round robin last year. So rise and shine and hold your head high. Advice from a Sunflower. This was a pretty pathetic start because it was part of, I want to say, my 12 by 12. So I did 12 new starts on New Year's Eve. So 31st of December 2024. I did 12 new starts in one day, and it was a bit insane. My husband was very ill. We had 2, maybe 3 trips to the pharmacy, a trip to the supermarket. It was chaos. It wasn't just that I got to sit for 12 hours and do a start every hour. There were a lot of interruptions. So this is literally just the top of the leaf, the top of the sunflower here. So a pretty small, pathetic start. And I've not touched it since, if I'm honest. I think this is actually one that I've already charted into a digital version so that I can have it in Pattern Keeper, which is my main reason for not working on this. So I don't know what's holding me back, actually. I've just not particularly felt the desire to get it out, which is fine. One day I will, and I will be glad that it's there. But for now, it's going back in its little sunflowery bag with its sunflower fancy thread. And yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it, I guess. Right, what next? I'm literally, what's that? Oh, thread roll. Okay, where's the tin? This is one of my full coverages. I don't actually know how big this one is. This might be bigger than Beyond the Horizon. I'm not sure. I have to check. This is Love by Eruda Art. It's a Gecko Rouge kit that has fluff all over it and Alfie hair. Doing this 2/1/10 stitch. It's my first time doing 10 stitch, and it's a little bit on the lumpy side. I'm not sure how I feel about it. 2/1/10 stitch. Oh, sorry, Alfie, was I leaning on your ear? 2/1/10 stitch. It's not a huge start. I think for a while I was putting off. Let me fold it in half and show you. Some of these little gappy bits. Basically, Gecko Rouge do their threads. They just number them like 1 to 90 or whatever, however many threads there are. I made a start on this and just prepped one thread at a time. They come on a floss card, but they're not cut, so that you can choose to cut them to the length that you prefer. So I done that for like the couple of main colours that were in this area, and then I'd started at 1 and prepped some of the rest, and I basically couldn't be bothered to prep anymore, so I was essentially going through and just stitching the colours that I had done. But it meant that there were all these gappy holes that my brain really wanted to fill in. My brain also really didn't want to prep the thread, so this just kind of got sidelined a little bit and not worked on for a while. I have recently, so I bought this from Jo who organises Ladybird retreats. This is a floss roll, and I now have all 95 colours of thread pre-cut on floss drops ready to go. So as and when I do decide to work on this project again, I can go and fill in all those gaps because all of the threads are ready to go, and they're very easy to like pull one strand from whatever I need. So there's no faffing with like floss cards or anything like that. So yeah, I haven't felt the urge to work on this since I organised the threads, but like it's really nice knowing that I can, as and when the mood does strike. And I quite like, so I pre-ordered this and picked the fabrics, and Joe custom made it for me. At the same retreat where I picked it up, I then won this cute little tin on the raffle. So the project lives in here to keep it safe, and my threads live in here. But I just like the coincidence that this does actually, I'm not going to try and put it in, this does actually slot into the pockets in the project, the floss roll. So I could store it all together. I need to figure that bit out, like how I want to store it long term, to keep it organised. But I think I'll probably figure that out the next time I get it out and work on it. But yay, I really enjoy that that's all now ready to go. Let's go this one. I think this is my tone on tone. Yes, I am considering UFOing this, or like maybe just finishing a little bit more of the middle, and I don't know, just not feeling it. I started this is one of my 3 starts, right? When I turned 33 1/3, so 4 months after my 33rd birthday, I was 1/3 of a century old, and I thought it would be fun to celebrate that because that literally only happens once in your life. So I made 1/3 of a birthday cake by making one big layer of cake and cutting it in thirds and stacking it. That was a terrible idea. It like self-destructed, and every time I tried to fix it, it became more determined to self-destruct. If I can find pictures, I'll include it, because like my mum was here and she was just absolutely cracking up laughing at me trying to rescue this cake whilst it fell apart. I think the cake was very soft and the icing wasn't thick enough to like hold it together. So the weight of the icing pulled the cake apart. It was a bad idea. It was delicious, but it looked horrendous. But on that same day, I also decided, well, that week, I can't remember, I decided to do 3 new starts. I'll mention the others when I get to them. The other one, I started 3 and I'm pretty sure I finished one of them, but I now can't think what it was. Anyway, this, I really like the idea of like tone on tone stitching, and I think where I've gone wrong with this is I don't think this is quite the right fabric for this colour of thread. I think these areas are too like peachy pink. I don't know, it's showing up quite differently on camera. People do this, don't they, and it helps, but I can never, I don't know. Anyway, I don't think I like the combination of the fabric and the thread. So I don't know, maybe I will just completely abandon this. I might unpick it to save the fabric. I might just finish, like, I might take like a central section of the design and just finish it as a random square tile with a geometric sort of rotational symmetry pattern on it. I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. So for now, I'm just going to go back in a project bag and get ignored, probably for another 6 months. It's not doing any harm. It's not stressing me out. It just is. It's there. It exists. What's next? This one's coming out of the bag, so let's do this. This was another, I think this might have been another 12 by 12, so a New Year start. This is going into a spiral by Plastic Little Covers, I think. I'm never quite sure about that name. I started this one I'm like 99% sure this was a 12 by 12. Yeah, all I've done is the word spiral. I did this by using a heat erasable pen to almost turn this into a printed pattern. So I went and put like a little dot on each space where there was meant to be a stitch. There's a good chance, I guess, that this becomes my next like ready to go take it with me project when I'm finished with Cabin in the Woods, which you'll see in a minute. Just because I can stitch all of the black, I can mark it up on here. So again, much like Cabin in the Woods, I won't necessarily need a pattern all the time. That won't work forever for this though, because I have decided to go full beads. So the black is just going to be stitched, but for the other bits, so I think there's pink clouds maybe. I think there might also be green clouds, but for like essentially the colours, organise those, hang on. Yeah, for the three sort of coloured sections. Alfie, what are you doing? The three coloured bits I'm going to do in beads. So I guess this will be like it's a good travel project right up until it's definitely not a good travel project when I get to the beads. But in the meantime, it will be a nice easy, just the black thread needs to be in there, and I can sketch out and mark the pattern on there so that it's a grab and go one, which will be nice. But I'm not in any rush for that, so it will be like as and when I finish Lakeside Cabin. Not Lakeside, I keep doing that. Cabin in the Woods. As and when I finish Cabin in the Woods, I'll sit down and mark this up so that it's ready to be my next Always Bring Cross Stitch project, or ABC as Dobby dubbed it. Thank you, Dobby. I love that term. I'm going to use it and credit you every single episode because I'm now always going to have an Always Bring Cross Stitch project. Next up, I've already lost count. I'm not even trying to keep count, so I might do a counter in the corner like I did on my very first one. There is room at the table for everyone. I am obsessed with this. It's a sentiment that I will die on the hill of. Everyone deserves to be welcome and to feel part of a community. I think Rachael from Talking Dog Stitchery took these to Stitch in London last year as table gifts. A couple of my friends, other friends, because Rach is a friend, a couple of other friends on the table shared pictures of them starting it, and I immediately was in love. So I ordered this one from her. Fabric and thread also from Rachael. The thread doesn't show up very well on camera, but it is like a pastel rainbow. Oh, oh, stuck. Oh no, all tangled. It's caught on the corner of the pattern. Let's use the crinkling. Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, the thread is called Baby's Blanket. I don't have anything. It's called Baby's Blanket, and it's this sort of pastel rainbow, which I love. Let's not use those. Excuse the hanging thread, it went outside of the nudge that I was using. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. This was one of my December 12 starts of Christmas last year. I think it was the very first one, so I started this on December 1st. Alfie, what are you doing? Very suspicious. What are you doing? Hi, you come up. Okay. Yeah, really love the sentiment, really enjoying stitching this. The fabric is gunmetal from Weeks Dye Works, also from Rachael. And yeah, I think I bombed through like a good chunk of this. I think I got to the 33% mark within a couple of days of starting it. And then I have picked it up since, but just not a huge amount. This was my first ever linen project as well. but not the first one that I finished. But yeah, I really like that. I will get back to it at some point. I can't remember if I've already said, I think I might have talked about this on my last update when I filmed that rather than on this one. I'm very much a vibes kind of stitcher. Wriggle back. I'm a very vibes based stitcher. This year I'm aiming for the vibe of working on some of my bigger projects, which does mean that smaller things like this, it wouldn't take me that long to finish, but my goal for the year isn't finishing lots of things, it's making progress on my big stuff, which you'll see in a minute. I've made tons of progress on some of the big stuff, so I'm kind of okay with some of these projects just not getting much love this year. It's not that I don't love them, just I've got other things I want to focus on, and that's fine. I mean, the last few months I've had other things in stitching that I wanted to spend my time on, and that's also fine. Yeah. I think a lot of people get into stitching, and like I've heard Flosstubers say this, where like they might want to work on one project for a couple of weeks, but that doesn't lend itself to having lots to show on Flosstube. Like I personally don't think I will ever stitch or change the way I'm stitching because I feel like I have to have more stuff to show you guys. Like, I'm more than happy to spend a whole month stitching on a project and just have one thing to show you because I will be hyped to show it to you. Oh, there's some scissors in this project bag. I thought I'd lost them. I can, oh, they're not like my favourite scissors, so it's not the end of the world, but I thought I'd lost them. Sorry, struggling to get comfy. Yeah, anyway, vibes based, and if that means sometimes I only have one thing to show you, then I only have one thing to show you, but I'll have lots of progress on it. Sometimes I'll have lots of things to show you and you won't be able to tell I've stitched on any of them. It is what it is. So next up, one that I haven't touched in a hot minute. This for a while was my like always bring cross stitch because it's a kit, so it's got all the threads, it has like the worst needle I've ever used in my life, and it's printed, so you don't need to take like a pattern keeper. Obviously it's hard to tell what's actually been stitched on there, so just to give you a vibe, that's the kind of side that I've worked on, so all this sort of outer band down to about here. Yeah, I think this was a Christmas gift, so it's not one that I chose myself, but I do really like the design, but I just don't reach for it. Like, I'm not, this is the kind of thing that I'll take, like, if I'm going on holiday and I want to sit by a pool and not have to deal with having a pattern, this is what I'd take, but I've not had that kind of a holiday for a while. We've had more like active doing stuff holidays. I'm not gonna not keep it or anything, but I'm just, if I still had this in 10 years, I'd be chill with that. I don't have like an intent for it when it's finished. I'm not trying to finish it to gift it or to put it somewhere in particular in my house. I'm enjoying it for the fact it allows me to stitch when I perhaps can't have a pattern. I don't have space for a pattern. So yeah. It also in a little plastic wallet thing, a proper project bag. What's next? Let's grab. Okay, this one is like, it was one of my Christmas starts, 12 starts, I can't remember. 12 by 12 or my 12 starts of Christmas. This is Space, is it Astronaut and T-Rex, I think is the proper name. I call it Space Dino. Obviously I've already got part of his head. He looks a bit weird and skeletal without his mouth filled in. I started this and I'm doing it 1/1 on, I want to say that's 18 count. And I really like him. I think he looks great. I think I decided that the black was a bit boring and I wanted to do it on something more fun, but I've got this other fabric in the bag, but I think I envisaged like a dark blue, not a dark green, so maybe I just need to keep looking. I have this piece of fabric, which is a Stitch Bunny. I think it's one of her exclusives, like her own design. It's called Galactica. And I love this. I've used it for other projects, but I think I want blue space rather than green space for this particular dinosaur. I don't know why. I don't know. That's what I'm feeling. So at the moment, this is sort of just living abandoned in a really pathetic plastic bag. Because I don't really want to carry on working on the black, but I don't want to start working on the green. So maybe I need to make a note to myself, like on my, got like a to-do app, and I have on there a sort of project for anything stitching related. Maybe I need to pop on there, look for some, I mean, I almost definitely need to look through my stash first, but look for some fabric that I'm excited to stitch this on, because I love the pattern. So I'm gonna actually put that up there as my, I need to do something about that. I need to, like, I don't want to just put it back in the project box and in 6 months time get it back out and have the same conversation that I don't like either of the fabrics that are in there. So yeah. Next up, let's do my one very sad piece of my attempt at needlepoint. Project bag, by the way, from Cross-Stitch Bunny, which I love. It's nice and big. I don't have many big projects, but it's perfect for this, which has the sort of the hard wooden frame. So this was my first attempt at needlepoint, and I'll be real, I hated it. Like, I love the concept of needlepoint. I really want to get into it. I think my mistake with this was it said to use a particular size needle, and I was like, no, I'll be fine. But it's pearl cotton, and I think the eye of my needle was too narrow for the pearl cotton to be able to sort of move freely. Small project bag to put behind that. Yeah, so it meant that as I was stitching, you know how your thread can get twisted? The eye of the needle was really exacerbating that problem. So it was a slog to do that little bit. The design was from the Jingle Ball 2024. I think I tweaked the colours because I couldn't get hold of the pearl cotton and the colours that it called for. But I started this in January at the Floss Friends Tips and Tricks weekend, and I just have had absolutely zero desire to pick it up again. So if you do needlepoint, am I doing something wrong? Is it just the needle? Like, if I had a bigger needle? Thanks, Alfie. Yeah, just what do you think? Like, what am I doing wrong? Help, because I want to love it. I want to really enjoy it. Like, it's like a bit of a mix of, it's like black work almost. Like, it's not just cross stitches, it's I guess they're not specialty stitches, they're needle point stitches, but I want to love it. I really do. And it's just not happening. Help. Oi. Right, pop that back. I feel like I'm doing quite well with keeping everything in the bag it's meant to be in, so far at least. Next up, let's do this one. So this is Selkie, Selkie, from Quaternion Creations. It's only a relatively small start, but it's very small stitches. Let me hold that right up. Teeny tiny stitches. The fabric is from Luella's hand dyed fabric, and me and Emma bought the piece and cut it in half, and both said that it would be perfect for some kind of mermaidy project. This project does have a mermaid on it, so yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So far it is using Mediterranean Sea, which I think is a classic colourworks. Is it? No, it's a Gentle Arts, but it is stunning. I love Mediterranean Sea. I'm planning to use a mix of sort of teal shaded fancy flosses. I don't know how I'm planning to break those up yet, but just there's like some hills and houses and stuff, and then the sea, so maybe I'll do like different sections of it in different colours. I don't know. It does take a lot of concentration because of the 1/1 to not let the threads slip between the weave of the fabric, so it's not one that I reach for at the moment. It's quite slow going, it takes concentration, and that's not the stitchy vibe that I have at the moment, so at some point I will get back to it, but not in a rush. Next, let's do this one. This one's a bit different because this isn't a WIP. For me, this is finished. For you guys, it's a WIP. This is a tangle of, there we go, tangle of magnetic cable ties. This is my, I've sort of been calling it my friendship sow, but I don't, it's kind of a round robin, but like a micro round robin. So rather than having to post it around a bunch of people, I bring this to retreats and basically pass it around, and if people want to, they don't have to, but if people want to, they can add a little heart or a star. So there are 2 spirals on this because eventually it's going to be a project bag, and the way that the project bag design that I use works, it will fold in half, so this will be the back, this will become the front. I've stitched this text in the middle. It says Stitchy friends are the best friends, and then last time I counted we'd passed the 100 mark, so over 100 people have given up like 10-15 minutes of their time to stitch on this for me. If you had told me that 2 or 3 years ago, with like wobbly mental health that I've had in the past, I would not have believed you that that many people were willing to give up a little bit of their time to stitch on a project for me. When this gets passed around, it's always pick whatever colour you want. I think you'll have to scooch in to be able to see what I'm pointing at. So I quite enjoyed on here, we started with the inside circle and sort of worked out, and as people sort of, as more got added, people got more and more creative. So I think this was the first really creative one. This was Soph from Turtle Bay Textiles. In fact, Beth did the very first one, and I love that she did the little, like the white stitches, the little twinkle on the star. But yeah, the further out we've got like a little ghost, there's a mothman and a mushroom, there's a ladybird up here that someone stitched while we were at the ladybird retreat. There's a Canadian flag from a lady from Canada that I met at Swery Stitches. This one is entirely French knots, which blew my mind a little bit. We've got Pikachu, we've got Bumblebee stripe from Rosie because we're stitching the Lorna Lane bee together. We've got the checkerboard from Soph because we were joking about both being emo kids as teenagers. I love, like, there are so many there that there is no way I could remember who did every single one, but there are a lot of them that jump out to me that I remember who did them and where they were done. Like there's a bit of a story behind them. This one, someone's done like a little bit of a snowflakey vibe. I love it. And then for the front, instead of doing the same text in the middle, what I've decided to do is some of my closest stitchy friends, I'm asking them to add like an icon in this space. So this one was added by Rachael from Talking Dog Stitchery. We had a bit of a stitchy meetup in Blackpool, and yeah, we were joking about how loud the seagulls were outside, and she had her Deadly Aquarium pattern So she's added this seagull that's from the Deadly Aquarium. So yeah, I'm excited to see those sort of more custom editions. But yeah, I've not got tons of stitchy days and stuff left this year. But I do try and remember to bring this with me to any stitchy days and retreats. So if you see me at a retreat, come give me a shout if you would like to add to this. I love the idea of having Flosstube friends and viewers come in and add to this, and it really be like all of the different aspects of my stitching community and journey. Yeah, I love this. It makes me so happy. It gives me the warm fuzzies, and it makes me so grateful for the community. Like for you guys watching, for like people who have made me welcome at stitching events, for people who have become really close friends. Like I got married before I found the cross stitch community, but in retrospect, like there are a number of people that I've met through stitching that would be like pretty top of my list of guests if I was to be getting married now, which I think is really cool. And like I say, having had wobbly mental health, it's a big deal for me. So thank you. I love you guys. Right, next project. Let's do the really big one because it's here. This is my biggest ever WIP. It's another Gecko Rouge. All of my big ones seem to be Gecko Rouge, except the Beyond the Horizon. This is Gamer Nouveau. She is being stitched 1/1 on 20 count. This is the Gecko Rouge version. I know Medusa Dollmaker, the artist, has now released her own patterns. If you can get hold of it, I would highly recommend the Gecko Rouge version. It has been discontinued, but if you can get one on destash or from someone who's finished, do it, because it's a beautiful pattern. I started this at sort of early December, so it's about 8 months in progress. I did this for Monogamous May, so I worked on this and only this for 31 days. All the progress updates from that are on my Instagram if you want to go see like the week by week progress updates, which I think is really cool. I love her so much. And this is such a nice project to work on monogamously because you've got this like bland, empty background that is just fill. Much like, I feel like I've done this in the wrong order. I keep talking about Cabin in the Woods, having not shown it. Sometimes I need the kind of stitching where you don't have to look at a pattern, and this background is perfect for that because I've already stitched the stars and I've made sure I've done all of those like edge stitches in other colours. So this is literally, other than I might need to check where the corner is, how far to go across, I could just sit and fill this in. And I have proven to myself, perhaps slightly insanely and unnecessarily, I can do 1% of this whole project by just stitching background for a day, which is about 2,000 stitches. It's just shy of 200,000 stitches in the whole project. So if I wanted to, if I just want to get some solid progress and just get stitches down, I can just do this without having to look at anything, and that sometimes that's what I need from a stitching project. It's also got some fun colours, so these sort of orangey colours, and the purples were really nice, the oranges in the banner. I really enjoy those bright colours. I put off getting this pattern and starting it for the longest time because a lot of it seems quite like toned down, and I was a bit worried that I was going to get bored. But like I can do some of the, I say boring, it's her face. It's not boring in terms of content, but like I find the colours, like skin colours, I find them quite boring to stitch. And like this banner was a slog, but whenever I got bored of it, I could come and do some fun colours and then be like, okay, I've like had the dopamine of doing fun colours, I can go back and do a bit more of the boring stuff. So yeah, I love this. I'm not in a rush. I started this knowing that it was going to be probably a 5-year project. I am at about 20%, 22%, something like that. I got to that point at the end of May, so about 6 months to do 20% would put me at about 2.5 years in total. I suspect, I mean, I've not touched this since May, so that's 2 whole months where I've just not done anything on it. So I think 5 years is probably a pretty reasonable plan. And I do have a spot picked out in our house, again, if we're still living here. I have a spot picked out in our house for where this is going to go when it's done. It's going to go right at the top of the stairs because our games room, we've got like a tall skinny townhouse, so it's on 3 floors. The games room is on the very top floor. So at the top of the stairs, this is going to be what like welcomes you to the games room, essentially. Yeah. I said at the start about making adjustments to patterns, and you've already seen like one where I've swapped in beads, or what else have I changed? Picked like unusual fabrics. I don't know, I feel like most of what I've shown you has actually been pretty... I've just realised I haven't actually shown you what's in that project bag. But like for Twisted Band Sampler, for example, I picked my own threads. For Into a Spiral, I've added beads. For this one, my customization is I'm considering making her blonde. I might chicken out of that at the last minute though, but for now I'm just not stitching her hair at all. I'm going to stitch everything else first, so that all is left on the pattern keeper file is the hair colours, so that I'm narrowing down what I need to do a conversion on. I'm also planning her headphones, like her over-ear headphones. I'm considering doing those in beads, just so that there's a little bit of sparkle. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I mean. Like, I'm sticking to the pattern for the most part and then just making those little tweaks. It's the right amount of creativity for me, and it might be that I get to the end and I go, nah, I just want to finish it. I just want it to be as it should be. But I don't know. It's a future me decision. And for now, I'm going to continue to make it a future me decision by just avoiding the bit that I'm considering tweaking. Okay, what's next? Let's do the bag that I've almost missed. So this bag I use for my meta cross-stitch projects. For anyone new, I have, so this next to me is where I normally sit when I'm stitching, and up on the wall next to it I have what my husband dubbed my meta cross-stitch wall. So this is cross-stitch about cross-stitch. So I'll include a picture because that's going to be easier than me trying to explain it. But I've got my frame for my needle minders up there, and all of the other projects so far have words that relate them to stitching in some way. References to scissors or needles or stitching directly. So this project bag has multiple WIPs in because it's all of my meta cross stitch projects that are eventually destined to go onto that wall. So first up we have Snip Snip. This is my Slightly Insane metallic sampler. So this is a great example of taking a pattern and sort of stitching the pattern but also completely changing it. Each pair of scissors, and I guess each word and each of these decorative lines across the top, are going to be in a different metallic thread, a different brand. And the idea of this being that it lets me try them all. Where possible, I'm borrowing these from other people so that I'm not buying a whole thread just to stitch one pair of scissors and decide that I hate the thread and I never want to use it again. So yeah, for my upcoming retreats, I'm going to message in like the relevant Facebook group or whatever in advance and sort of say like, these are the ones I've already used or tried. If you know of and own sort of scissor coloured thread, like silvers, golds, metallics, they're all metallics, but you know what I mean, like I don't want a green pair of scissors. Yeah, and you're willing to let me pinch a length, please bring them along and let me try some. I think there's about 10 pairs of scissors and then 3 or 4 words / lines across the top. So probably about 12 to 15 different metallics that I'm going to have tried in the end. When I am done with this, I will do, it feels like it sounds extreme, but I will probably do a whole episode to talk through the different types. I'm taking notes about how I find stitching with each of these, and the plan is when I frame it, I'll take a photo of the finished piece and almost like annotate it on the computer to say what each thread was and whether I liked it, whether I didn't like it, that kind of thing. And then I'm going to print that and stick it on the back of the frame. So when it is up on my wall and I want to use a metallic, and I'm not sure which one, I can pull it off and sort of look at the stitching on the front to be like, oh, I like how shiny that one is, or like they've all got different types of metallicness, which is really hard to explain. But they, like, although I'm sure I'm going to end up with a favourite in terms of the one that's the most comfortable to stitch with, I'm sure there will be times where I'll go, I want that metallic vibe rather than that metallic vibe, if that makes sense. But I can look at the effect they give, turn them over and be like, oh, actually that one was horrendous to work with. Maybe I'll settle for a slightly less perfect metallic finish in favour of not wanting to burn my project in a blaze of fire because I hated working on it so much. So yeah, Snip Snip is the first one of these. The next one I'm going to skip. I'll very quickly show. It's an adopted project that I've not started working on yet, so it's not really a WIP, but it will be on that wall when I'm done. Beautiful things come together one stitch at a time. I think I'm going to do a thread colour conversion for the rest of it so that my stitching and Heidi from Stitching Down the Rabbit Hole, that you can kind of tell who stitched what. I really like that idea, but I haven't had the mental brain juice to sit down and figure out that conversion yet. This one is my Owl Forest embroidery project. It's my first one from them. This was, again, it was either a 12 by 12 or a 12 Starts with Christmas. I have the Owl Forest thread pack for this, which I'm really enjoying. And this is on Picture This Plus, I want to say Gothic. Pretty sure this one's Gothic. It will say on the bottom if I'm wrong. I will say on the bottom if I'm right as well. Yeah, I really love this. It doesn't show up, it shows up better in person than it does on the camera. I think because in this area in particular, I've only stitched the brown, it doesn't, you can kind of see it, but it shows up better in person for sure. But I just really love this. I've not worked on it for a while, just because other things have called to me more, but I'm excited to keep working on this, and I like the idea of the lights sort of popping on the dark background. And I like that this is a bit of a like tangential meta cross stitch, because like we all need lights to stitch with. It's like an important part of our equipment, but it's not like it doesn't end up on your fabric at the end. It's not something that it's not your thread or your fabric or your pattern. It's a little bit more of a like, it's a support act. But I like the idea that it's still quite relevant. So that's that one. What else have we got in here? As I said, this bag is very full. We have Cross Stitch Makes Everything Okayer. I've gotten sort of most of the way through the words on this, and then it's just the top and the bottom banner. This is another one that I'm doing with that Mediterranean Sea, but this was a lighter batch of it, so I'm really hoping that I have enough left on that skein to finish this in the same dye lot batch, just to be safe. This is another one that I have the paper. I bought the paper pattern and then I've charted it digitally for my own use, because I have realised that I am a digital person, a digital pattern person even. Say that 5 times fast. Oh, there we go. There's my lighter skein of. See that looks blue. I feel like when I showed the other one. I think I briefly showed it with the Selkie, but they're the same thread, but this is just a much lighter dye lot of it. Yeah, anyway. Next up we have, I can't remember what this one's called. I can't even remember what it says. This one is needle themed. This was a pattern set that I asked for my birthday and my mum got it for me. It's a series of sort of small projects that are about, like there's one I think about thimbles, there's one about needles, that kind of thing. This was a very small start. I did a start a day for my birthday week all on Meta Cross Stitch theme. So this was one. Cross Stitch Makes Everything Okay was one. I feel like a couple of the ones that I've since finished were in there as well. So this was a relatively small start. This isn't the nicest fabric to work on. I can't remember where it's come from. It feels hand dyed. But it's like the hand dye has made the threads puff up, so it's quite like thick. And I normally do the sewing method, so if the fabric's thick it's quite hard to go down and then back up because you've got so much of the fabric to go around, if that makes sense. So it's one, yeah, it's a relatively small one, so I absolutely will get there and finish it, but I'm just not reaching for it. I'll probably pick that up when I really need the dopamine hit of a little finish. Lastly in this bag we have Introverted, which I think is Silver Creek Samplers. It says introverted, but will gladly or eagerly discuss cross stitch. This one I picked way back in September last year for is it Lucy? I'm really sorry if that's wrong. From Hoops and Crosses UK. She did an Introverts Unite Sal for her birthday, and I had this pattern already picked out that I wanted to stitch, and yeah, I didn't get around to it for 6 months. I ended up starting it for my birthday instead, in March. So yeah, tiny start. This one's on 18 counts sterling from Picture This Plus. To go with, you can't really see it, no, I guess you can, the plant pot here is grey. We've got like a blue feature wall in this room and then everything else is sort of whites and greys. So a lot of the ones that I've done so far have been quite like dark or blue, so I wanted a sort of lighter background. I mean, you can see I've got another blue here and another blue here, so I wanted to try and balance that with some lighter background for some of the other Meta Cross Stitch. So that was 5 projects in one project bag. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, not to mention the adopted one, and I've also got one here which I have essentially turned into a printed pattern by drawing the design on. I have already stitched this once. This is already up on the Meta Cross Stitch wall, but the design came with the intent of making it into a little pouch, which I do still want to do. I'm hoping that that will become like a little needle and scissor pouch to live in like a grab and go project bag. But again, that feels like a always bring cross stitch kind of project that I can chuck it in a small project bag, with the couple of threads and a little, ironically, a little set of needle and scissors in a tin of some kind. So it's just a grab and go project. I don't need a pattern with it. I maybe need to start making a list of some of these grab and go suitable projects so that when I finish one, I know what my options are for my next one. Right, we're an hour in and I reckon I'm about halfway, maybe a little past halfway, considering that was 5 in 1. So I think we're kind of on track to finish in a reasonable amount of time. We shall see. Right, pop those aside. This is another big one. This is my Gecko Rouge B by Lorna Lane. Get both versions out. So I originally started this 2 years ago as one of my 12 starts of Christmas, in 2023, I've actually stitched this project once already, in that I've just stitched the bee itself on some hand-dyed grey fabric for a friend. The finish for that is on my Instagram, but it's from a while ago. I maybe need to make like a highlight reel of all my finishes so that when I mention past ones it's easier for people to see them if they want. But then I was going to stitch the whole thing for me, and I made this start on this 20 count gridded Aida. So 20 count is my go-to at the moment because I can stitch 1/1. I wasn't really enjoying this. The fabric's really stiff, and even when I try and like, I know you're meant to be able to, like, if you scrunch it and roll it and unroll it and scrunch it and roll it the other way, it's meant to soften it up. No amount of rolling this seems to be softening it, and I just wasn't really enjoying it. And then I saw another Jess, so from Cross Stitching Smiles. She does, I mean, this year she's stitching exclusively on Gecko Rouges, and she, for some of them, has done them on hand-dyed fabric, and I got envious, so I abandoned my first start of this and have restarted it on hand-dyed fabric, and obviously I've gotten a bit further, not much, but a little bit. So this is, I want to say Longbourn Blush from Swan Bay Fabrics. It's also a 20 count, although I'd say that they look about the same, because obviously hand dyeing sometimes makes them a little bit tighter. But yeah, you can kind of see I've started gridding a little bit with some is it Selkie Sliver thread, which is monofilament, so you can't stitch through it, and it's also very, like, it's basically flat. It's almost like a ribbon shaped, so it's very flat and very smooth and very easy to pull back out when you're done. I do intend to do more of that, but I found it really boring and tedious, so I've done 2 rows and was like, stuff it, I'm just going to start stitching. So I might just add them as I move down the project. I really need to get this out and put some love into it. Rosie from Rosie xStitches and I were going to sell this together this year to try and keep each other motivated to work on it, and I think we both did in January, and then, I mean, I don't know if she's worked on it much since, but I certainly haven't. Yeah, Rosie, if you're watching, how are you getting on? Give me a kick so that I get this out and work on it again. I love the colours in it. I don't know why I don't reach for this. I just don't. I think some of it is my thread situation. I started putting them on Annie's Keepers, which is what my master set is on. I had some spare from the sort of multi-pack that I had to buy for that. And then I was going to put the rest on floss drops, but the floss drops that I bought are like thinner cardboard than I realised when I bought them. So at the moment they're cut, so I could theoretically work from these thread cards, but I find these a bit cumbersome. So I do want them on some kind of floss drops. I just need to figure out how I do that to make it work for me. I shouldn't have got those out there now. I'm not going to want to go back in. Oh, they've gone back in, but horrendously messy. Okay, pause for tidying. Cool. This lives in one of my Turtle Bay Textiles. I am not doing well with names today. Turtle Bay Textiles project bags, which is perfect for it. In fact, most of my big projects. Gamer has a Talking Bay. Talking Bay? Rach, Soph, sorry. Turtle Bay Textiles project bag. Honestly, sometimes I'm a functioning human. It never seems to happen when I've got a camera on. That's here are things I need to show. Right, we're just gonna go from one side of what's left to the other now. This one is my Greenhouse of Oddities. which again was this was my very last of the 12 by 12 starts, and I remember this because by that point it had been a very long day. I feel like I was perhaps a little bit delirious. I hadn't, for most of the others, I'd planned in detail like exactly where on the fabric I was going to start. I'd gotten the right colour in the project bag so it was ready to go. This one I hadn't been that organised, and when I got it out I then had to figure out where I was starting, and then I realised I hadn't even decided whether I was doing it 1/1 or 2/2. When I measured, it would fit 2/2 this way, but it would have been a squeeze, and I kind of didn't want to stress about running out of space. And then I was like, it would look cute small, so here we are. 1/1 on 32 count linen, which again I had only stitched on for the first time that same month. Like a month before was my first ever linen stitch, and then 30 days later I'm like, I could do 1/1 on this, it'll be fine. I do love it. It's coming out beautifully. I'm trying to find a way to hold it. I should have brought my board over, but I wasn't that organised, so I've not gotten hugely far. I started this in part with Emma and Joe from Belushi Stitches. They are doing it as a SAL this year, so they did the frame in January and they're doing one of the plantings each month so that they finish in December. When I made a start, I literally did like the tiniest bit of this twirly bit and then didn't touch it for a few months, and then when I came back to it I was like, I don't think I can face just doing whatever it is, like 6,000 stitches of mostly black. So I kind of I worked my way down the roof, this sort of branch of the roof, to get to some green, and then I didn't think that I would be able, especially on 1/1 32 count, to be able to count my way down this pillar. So instead, as soon as I got to here, I swapped and did this green plant and used that so that when I came down I knew how far to go down based on how far the green came. So I'm kind of going at this a bit haphazardly. I don't even know where any of the plantings are. I don't know which bit is which. I'm just going to roll with it. I am planning to stitch on this month. I'm filming this in advance of my 1 year anniversary because I know I'm not going to have time that week. And also this is going to be a beast to edit. So I'm filming this at the start of the month. I am planning to work on this month. So if you want to see more of this, come back for my next update. I will probably have put some work into this. The thing that has prompted me to work on this is Kenny Stitches, who's on Flosstube and Instagram, is doing an abandoned SAL. So stitch alongs that you are behind on or that have long since finished and you have not finished. So yeah, that's what's prompted me to get this out. It's my one sort of SAL that's like a stitch a chunk a month vibe that I have not kept up with. So hopefully some progress on that this month. Who knows, by the time you're watching this, I might have just rolled with it and kept going and finished. Not that committed, but hopefully some progress nonetheless. And again, that's one I'm planning to adjust. I've decided, I saw in the Facebook group, the Lola Crow Facebook group, someone did it without the people. I think I'm gonna like leave the easel, for example, but have it be as if it's like waiting for someone to come back. And then the guy that's like kneeling down and looking at one of the plants, I think I'm gonna leave him out and put a different plant in there from at the end of the SAL there was like a mini terrarium pattern that she shared, so I might take one of the plants from there and put it in his place just to fill the space. But yeah, it's another one that I've kind of gone, I really like this pattern but I want to do it my way. Next up we have my Christmas project bag. This one is another Turtle Bay Textiles, which she gifted me. I think she gifted me to store my stockings in, and I've stored them in something else because I like the bag too much. I want to use it all the time and not just have it in storage. This is Quaker Snowflakes. It's Hello from Liz Matthews, I think. This fabric is Mystic by Picture This Plus. And again, I really like the vibe, like the light on dark of this. I think the pattern had it stitched both ways. I just really like it. And again, doing it my own way, doing it fully beaded. So these are all beads. I don't know. I've got the camera like the lazy way around, so it won't focus, but yeah. Beads central, and they are teeny tiny beads. Can I reach them? I've got two colours. So these are size 15 Miyuki Delicas, and I've got the white ones that I'm doing the majority in, and then I've got the blue to just pick out a few, maybe a few snowflakes, maybe the birds across the bottom. Haven't quite decided yet, but I wanted something to be like a little bit of a pop. But yeah, I have not touched this one in ages. I sort of said I was going to work on it in July for Jolly July. I did not. But to be fair, I didn't do much stitching at all in July, so it's nothing personal against this project. I do love it, and I do look forward to working on it some more. My other Christmas Jolly July project was my mini Christmas crackers. These ones are by the Victoria Sampler. I've got the angel there and the snowman that I've started, and then there are two more, Santa and gingerbread man, that I haven't started. I do love these. They are very cute and miniature, like for scale, my hand. Like, they're tiny. They're like 2 inches by 3 inches or something insane like that. They do have pretty beads. They are due to have some sparkle. This one just has the sparkle left to be added for her wings and her halo. I have had some issues with frustration that I did a whole colour conversion and then the majority of these seem to be stitched in pearl cotton, which is just white pearl cotton. So I'm a bit frustrated that I did a conversion. I was really excited about having done the conversion, and then I feel like I'm not actually getting to use those threads very much. So these are kind of on the naughty step a little bit. I've just not wanted to work on them since I realised that the threads I'd picked hadn't actually, I wasn't going to get to use them that much. But I want to finish them. Last year I did the little stockings, the Annie Beez Folk Art, 12 stockings, 12 days of Christmas stockings, and I really loved doing those. So I like the idea of each year doing some like little stitched ornaments in like unusual ways and shapes and things. So I do want to get those finished this year. I need some time to cool down. And left out my sticky mat thing for the beads. I just need some time to cool down and get over the fact that my fancy threads are going to end up in my stash rather than on the project more than I expected. But I'll get there. Next up, this one again was I think this was a New Year's Eve 12 starts, and it's pretty pathetic. It's just a black circle of felt stitched onto this gorgeous fabric. The fabric is Dreamin of Summer from Stitch Bunny Shop, and this one's 18 count. This is going to be a soot sprite. I know it doesn't look like much. I don't even know which way up it goes. I did maybe that way so that he's got space for legs. I don't know. What I do have is a bunch of cute beads. So for anyone who's not familiar, soot sprites, I've come across them through Studio Ghibli films, and particularly Spirited Away. And in Spirited Away, there's all these little soot sprites, and they come out and they work for the boiler man, and then he feeds them, throws these little stars, and they all run around like gathering the little stars. I did definitely get inspiration for this project from someone else who stitched basically the same thing. So I have hijacked their idea a little bit. I do, somewhere on my computer, I do have that person's name and a picture of their post, so I will include those so that they get credit for the idea. But it's basically just me a little soot sprite with its little star going like, yay, I found the star! Because I like Studio Ghibli and I think soot sprites are cute. Beth is all. When I get round to doing that, who knows? Who flippin' knows? Right, this was another of my I'm a third of a century old starts. It's huge, and I've not got very far. This is 1/1 on 20 count evenweave, which I didn't even know existed before I got this piece on a destash table. And I'll be real, the fact that it's on 1/1 evenweave probably isn't helping my lack of wanting to work on this. The fact that it's 1/1 means that the threads slip, the stitches slip in between the strands of the fabric quite easily, and I just don't enjoy it that much. I like stitching sewing method, and I can't do that on evenweave because it exacerbates the thread slipping between the fabric weave problem. I think what I'm going to do, I was going to make this like a 3x3 grid and then just finish it rather than stitching the whole piece. I might go even smaller and do like a 5 square X vibe and then just finish it. I might try stitching it again on some different fabric. I love this fabric, it's a gorgeous colour, and I picked it because one of the colours in the stitching is very similar. I was going to just leave that, so the fabric was almost like a negative space vibe. I'm not reaching for this, and there is no point in it sitting there unfinished forever because I don't like the fabric. I might as well finish enough that I can call it done and like put the pattern back in my like maybe I'll stitch this one day folder on my Google Drive, and maybe have another crack on a different fabric at some point. What's next? So, Cabin in the Woods, which I have talked about multiple times and not yet shown you. There's actually 2 projects in this bag, so I will show you Cabin in the Woods first. This one is from Flosstube-iversary, ta-da, on a hand dyed by me piece of fabric. As I said, it's Cabin in the Woods. It's a gorgeous pattern to stitch. It's not got many colours, but it's so effective. The only changes I've made, I've done the stars in gutermann sort of copper coloured metallic, and then the sun is also a gutermann metallic. I don't know if that's going to show up very well. It's like sort of pink and blue and silver metallic, and then obviously the fabric. This is currently my always bring cross stitch project because it's down to I think 4 colours of green and then the last of the stars to finish. So if I'm somewhere where it's easy enough to have my tablet out with my pattern, I can do like the leaves on this half of the border, or I can work on the trees or the stars that require like actually like looking at the pattern. If I am somewhere where I don't really have the space to have the pattern out, I'm trying to figure out how to fold it to show you. This bottom bar is now just that green, this fill-in that's between these flowers. I just need to carry that all the way across. So that's a really nice one for I don't need my pattern out. I just need that one thread and I can work on it. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to be sad when it's finished because I don't get to stitch on it anymore, but I'm also looking forward to having it finished and getting it framed. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's definitely getting framed and put up in the house somewhere. And there's my remaining threads for that one, which sort of live with it. I have a DMC master set that I have on Annie's Keepers that live directly next to my stitching spot, so I don't typically keep DMC threads in project bags. This is the one exception, because that way if I'm ever missing a thread from my master set, I know it's here. This is the only place it could possibly be, because for everything else I get the project out, I work on it from my master set, and then when I'm done with that project for a while, it goes back in the project bag with none of the threads. So it's a system that works really well, but I theoretically can't lose any threads. And I also, in that tin, keep a little tin with a little pair of snips. These are like teeny tiny little scissors that I got in an advent calendar last year, and a couple of needles on a magnet in the bottom there. and the tin was from Don't Step on Your Needle. So that's my little travel case, and it means that this bag has everything I need to just grab it and go. Come on, you coming up? Come snuggle. Come on. You sulking because I'm not paying you attention. I'm sorry. I'm almost done. Okay. The other one that lives in this mushroomy bag, because it's got similar sort of, well, to me, in my head it's the same vibe. This one is Lakeside Cabin. I always try and say Lakeside Cabin for the other one, but no, this one's Lakeside Cabin. It's not a huge start. It's a bigger piece than I thought it was, to be honest. Started this one for Sophie from Soph. Her birthday at the start of this year. Several of us started this one. I'm doing this again on Mystic by Picture This Plus, which is a gorgeous sort of rich blue colour. Yeah, I think compared to Cabin in the Woods, this one has a lot more colours, and for example the trees are much more complex. On Cabin in the Woods the trees are like 3 colours and they're quite blocky, but I think they give a really nice effect. On this one they've gone for more a realistic vibe, so like each branch has like dark colours on the bottom and light colours on the top, so it's a lot more confetti-ish stitching. I've not worked on this much, if I'm honest, in the past sort of 6 months, but I think it's one where if I get past that confetti-ish sort of section of the trees, it could be a good always bring cross stitch project, because like this sky for example is almost all just one shade of yellow so far, and then I think this middle bit is 2 more shades of yellow, so there are chunks where it can just be like mindless fill. I just need to get it to that point, get past those trees, because then the water is like a reflection, so it's almost like you're stitching the same thing or the same vibes twice. But for now, it lives in this project bag, but it's not actively getting worked on for now. Tuck that one away. Cool. We are down to, how many have we got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 6 left. And to be fair, this one's barely a start. Like, much like the space dinosaur, the Astronaut and T-Rex, quite early on. This is one that I had the idea. And I think this might also have been one of my 12x12, one of the most pathetic of the 12x12. I think this might have been one of the hours where I spent half the time at the pharmacy instead of at home. This is meant to be Autistic AF by Beez on Toast. I really love this design. I love a lot of her stuff. And I had this idea to do it on this sort of tone on tone piece. I don't know if you can even see that there's stitching on there in the middle, but the colours are just a little bit too samey. And 7 months later, almost 8 months later, no 7, I still haven't got around to figuring out whether I want to change the threads to be a little bit more of a pop, or whether I want to do this on a different fabric. I just don't know. So yeah, I mean this literally has 15 stitches in it, which is such a shame because I love the design. I was excited to stitch it, and it's a nice easy small one. For now it's going to continue to, in fact no, I'm going to put it up with the Space Dino as a, I need to like go through my fabric stash and decide what I'm doing with this one. I'm not going to let that one just sit there and wait for another 6 months, because again it would make a great bring cross stitch with me. I could mark out the pattern on the fabric with heat erasable pen so that you're just stitching over it and no one would ever see that it was there anyway. Just need to figure out the fabric and the thread situation. Next up we have my Buzz block party, which is hands-on design, and I've got the fancy threads in this one, and also the pins. I'll show you the pattern there. This pin set. This one was a gift from Rachael. The pattern, some of the threads and the pins. So really enjoying this one. I haven't got hugely far. This one is also on Mystic Picture This Plus. So I've done the outline of the top and I've done the honeycomb. You can kind of see it there. Done the honeycomb. I need to do this this sort of gold outline around the honeycomb, and then I need to sew the square of fabric is in here somewhere as well, to go in the middle there. I think there's some little specialty stitches around the edge of the where you sew the square of fabric on. I have then done not very much on the rest. So I've cut my piece of fabric for the base, and then for the sides, I don't even know if you'll be able to see this, sort of, I've stitched the outline. So the way that you construct this is you stitch a back stitch outline for all 4 sides, and then you whip stitch it together. So I've started doing the outline for that one. This was another 12 by 12 start, and I think on the day all I did was the outline of that top piece. Oh, there's the fabric for the middle. So I have not got very far with this one again, but I'm not in a rush for it. Like, I'm enjoying working on it, or I have enjoyed working on it when I've worked on it, but it's not called to me. So yeah, we'll get there when we get there. No rush, no big deal. Okay, last. This one is Flosstube Friends. This one was another gift from some of my Stitchy friends in my Barbie cross-stitch bag, which I love because I feel like with that friendship group we're all very like hype each other up. Like, we're each other's cheerleaders. Like, you can do it, like, you've got this. Like, when one of us has done something, we're all like, it's got so much Alfie hair on it, sorry. Easily distracted by floof. Yeah, so I love the fact that this bag is all those kind of like dream big, you can do it kind of vibes. Yeah. So all that being said, not got very far. So this is where I'm at. All I've done is some border. I have completely freestyled the colours on this just based on what I fancied. This is going on 22 count, can't remember what it's called, hardanger. And yeah, all I've done so far is border. The reason for that is the girls who gifted this to me picked out some colours for themselves. So each of them picked out a colour and they picked one out for me as well. And the idea was, oh, there's one more hiding. The idea was, let me find the cover picture because it's going to make it easier to explain. So there are 6 women on here, and the idea was that I pick, for each one of these, pick one of the girls and use their colour to stitch some element of their respective figure. So a couple of them I know who is who, or who's gonna be who. The best example being this one, because when I first saw this, so it's a stitcher holding a bunch of ornaments. I mistakenly thought they were shopping bags, and Sherrie, not long before I was gifted this, Sherrie had been to Harrogate, which is a big stitching event, lots of shopping, like a big convention centre type thing, and she'd had a story about how she had so many shopping bags. So I immediately saw this, and like, Sherrie is, I think, maybe the most petite of the group, so the fact that this is a petite lady holding what I thought were shopping bags was just, it's got to be Sherrie. But I can't picture Sherrie wearing a dress like this, so I kind of want to reach out this to be jeans. And the same for some of the others. Like, I think this one's going to be Soph. But for some of the others, like, I kind of want to rechart them a little bit to better fit the friend that I want them to represent. But that means effort and thinking and creative mental juice that my brain hasn't had for a while. So I started off with just the border, and that's as far as I've gone with this one. So at some point I just need to sit down with my charting software and just tackle this one so that it's ready to go when I do have the mood strike me. Alfie, you okay? You got an itchy ear? Come here. Let me help. Let me do the ear scritch. This is life. He knows he's not meant to scratch at his ears because he makes them sore. But it means that he sort of like half pretends he's gonna rub his ear on the floor and then looks at me as if to say, like, you gonna do something about it? So we get to do ear massages. Is that better? Okay, I'm gonna finish putting this away, okay? Is that allowed? Am I allowed the use of my hands for purposes other than scratches? Cool. Last three. Right, this is my Mill Hill. Lives in a pretty sad project bag, but it's the stiffest one I have, so it protects the paper from getting squished. Oh no, don't run away. This is another Aurora Borealis piece. I think the pattern is literally called Aurora Borealis. So this is like a mini version of my big Gecko Rouge Aurora. I love the colours. I love the bright colours. I'm doing this one extreme cross country, although on such a small project I'm not sure it deserves the word extreme, but I am doing colour completing basically. And then this is going to have all beads and things on there. Yeah, for a while this was my always bring cross stitch, like I take it to the hairdressers and stuff, and I do quite enjoy that. I think it was 2 haircuts ago that I had this one with me, and he was like, oh, that's really cool, and I was like, yeah, this is what it's going to be like, and I showed him the picture and he was like, oh, you have to like bring it back in next time and show me it finished, and I was like, as if. Maybe in like 3 to 5 years I'll be able to bring it back in and show him it finished. But yeah, I don't love perforated paper. I don't love plastic canvas. I like being able to roll my fabric so that there's something like chunky for my left hand to hold. I know you can get frames specifically for perforated paper, designed for Mill Hills. I don't really like stitching with frames, so I'm really tempted to get one, but also they're not cheap. I mean, they're not crazy expensive. They're like 20 quid or something. I think depends what size you get. But I just don't really want to spend 20-25 quid on something that I'm like, it doesn't make any difference to the fact I don't love stitching on perforated paper. Right, penultimate project. This one is a very pathetic start. It looks like a pair of eyebrows. This is my mandala giraffe on a gorgeous piece of Stitch Bunny fabric. You can tell because of the yellow edging. It is literally just the top of his little, I don't really know what they're called, little sticky up bits on his head. What can I say? I think this was another pharmacy trip hour on the 12 Starts of Christmas. So, but the pattern and the threads were part of my Advent exchange, which actually, now I think about it, I think the sign-ups for that are in August, which is now, so I need to remember to go do that. But I love the design and I love the colour scheme. I just need to get around to it at some point. I guess it's another candidate for an always bring cross stitch project. Especially if I sort of use some heat erasable pen to like maybe just draw out like every other colour, and then it's like filling the gaps between them. I don't know, we'll see. It's a potential. Last but not least, I'm just gonna loom and double check that it is last. The only stuff left in here is like a UFO, but one that I'm keeping for sentimental purposes, a cover picture. Oh no, this has this one. I lied. I thought this box was empty, but it does have a thing in it. This is, again, sort of an abandoned project that I'm planning to restart, and I've even bought the fabric. The fabric is in here to restart it on. I just haven't got around to it. This is gaming rather than gamer. It is another Gecko Rouge though, and you might look at this and go, what on earth, why would you restart that? You're so far. Correct, I am quite far. I've done, again, extreme cross country it for the dark colour, and then I filled in all of that handle of the blade, and obviously like a good chunk of the controller. I don't like this on the white. It's meant to have like a, you can kind of see it in here, like this fade out vibe goes all the way around. I can't be bothered to do the fade out all the way around. It's meant to be a fully white background, like you stitch the white background. Can't be bothered with that. I already knew I couldn't be bothered with that, but now I can't be bothered with the fade either. And I figured I could ditch all of that and just stitch it on a fancy coloured fabric. I think I'm going to gift this one to my little brother when I'm done, because he is a gamer. So I asked him and he said he liked the idea of purple. So I've got this, it's called Plum. From Fibre on a Whim, and it's 20 count, whereas this is 18 count as well, so this is 2/1. I would do it 1/1 on here. The other thing with this, I don't love some of the colours in this grey colour palette. Like this one is really like, it's like a yellowy grey rather than a blue grey like most of the rest, and I think it just looks a bit odd. So when you have like the colour fade on here, I feel like that just looks really out of place. It looks almost like a little bit brownish compared to the others. Whereas everything else, like even this, it's not actually black, it's 939, so it's very dark blue. So I think what I want to do, there are 14 colours in here ranging from completely white to 939. I'm basically going to come up with my own 14 colour grey colour palette, and then match them in terms of the gradient, like this one's the lightest, then this one kind of thing, and basically like swap in my own colours so that when you do have those gradients, you don't have this weird like odd colour in the middle. So yeah, again, that requires my brain to actually engage and do some creativity. I have now got my full swatch box, which does make that a little bit easier because I've got all of the DMC colours, like essentially one layer of thread onto each bobbin, which allows me to make that. I'm going to put that up there because that's another one that I want to do something with rather than just putting it away. But yeah, that makes it easier to do that kind of colour conversion thing amongst DMC colours. So I just need to get around to it really. Simple. My last WIP, and this is one of the ones that I feel like having gotten it out, I'm now going to be like, I want to stitch on this next. This is, get the fabric at a reasonable size. This is, I don't even know what it's called. It's from a magazine, so like I never know whether the article name is the name of the pattern. It's basically a winter owl, so it's all in sort of blues and these sort of coral colours, but it's designed to go in a double hoop, so the whole pattern goes in a big hoop, and then the idea is you put a small hoop here, like back to front, so it's like a hole in the fabric. I just love it. This, again, hang on, I've got the label, came prepared for this one. This is 18 count from, again, Stitch Bunny Shop. I think this is one that I won in a giveaway from her. It's just gorgeous. I was really nervous at the start. Like you can see here some of these blues sort of fade into the background, but with that back stitch around it, they really pop. I just love it. I love the, I love like backstitch for branches like that. Just, I think it's really, both really delicate, really effective, and I really enjoy it. Like I enjoy things like black work or backstitch on empty fabric. I don't love backstitch. I don't love doing backstitch over stitching. So like some of this in the flowers I found a little bit more challenging, but the branches, I could do those forever. Like I love it. I love the effect. And this is a nice one for stitching sewing method, one strand over one. So yeah, really happy with that so far. I'm not in a rush to finish it or anything. I think when I do, it'll go up next to my home office desk. I've got a bit of a hoop ball up there. But yeah, I love this. And I look forward to working on it as and when my brain decides that it's time to do that again. When that will be, I don't know. I don't know when it will be for any of these projects. I don't even know what I'm going to stitch on later today. But that's half the fun. And it's why I know some people are like a one WIP person, and if they have more than a couple they get stressed. And that's completely like, everyone's brain's going to work differently. Do what works for you. For me, having I find starting projects probably the hardest bit, like choosing the fabric. I have a thing called aphantasia, which is where if you close your eyes, I mean, fun experiment, close your eyes and try and picture an apple. And there's a scale, I'll try and find a picture of it to include for reference, but there's like a scale of how much detail you can see. Some people obviously with a photographic memory would be able to like picture every atom of that apple in perfect detail. At the other end of the scale, I see nothing. I cannot, like with a lot of effort, like really concerted, have to really think about it, I can just about sort of mentally picture the shape of an apple. Can't see any details, can't see colour, and like I'm not even convinced that I'm really seeing the shape of the apple. I think that's more me telling myself an apple is round and it has the divot at the top and the bottom and it has a stem and maybe a leaf. Like I don't know, my brain works in almost like a blueprints kind of way. Like I can see the structure and the shape of things, or I can think about the structure and shape of things. I still don't think I even really see them. But colours, textures, patterns, that kind of thing, just like I could tell you where something is in a room, couldn't tell you what colour it is, if that makes sense. But yeah, that means that for me, picking a fabric, I find really hard because I can't picture what the pattern will look like on the fabric. So I find that quite stressful. But I really enjoy the fact that I've got enough of a variety of projects that if I'm not feeling the one that I'm currently working on and I don't want to work on it, I can put it aside and I can still enjoy my hobby. I can pick a different one. Like if I'm not enjoying it because confetti, I can pick something simple. If I'm not enjoying the simple because it's boring and block stitching, I can pick something colourful with more interest in it. If I'm not enjoying dark fabric, I can work on light fabric. If I like, do you get what I mean? Like I can, for the most part, if I want to do beads, I've got projects with beads in. Like I've got enough variety that whatever it is about my current project that I'm not feeling, I will have another project that I will be feeling. And that for me is really important. Like stitching is my zone out, like brain recharge activity. I don't really know what the right phrase for. I guess it's like an introvert thing. It's my like, I'm keeping my hands busy enough that I'm not fidgeting, I don't end up doom scrolling. I'm leaving my brain free enough to pay attention to TV or an audiobook, but not so free that I'm like, I don't know, like rethinking something stupid I said in a conversation 7 years ago. Like it's that right amount of like, it keeps my brain busy but not too busy. So yeah, I don't ever want to be in a position where I feel like I can't stitch because I have to stitch on a certain project and that project isn't appealing to me at the moment. So although this might seem a lot, it's what works for me. And I don't feel any pressure to work on any of these to get any of them done by a particular point in time. They'll get done when they get done. If they're for a gift, maybe that person's getting that gift in 10 years. That's chill. By then they'll have forgotten that I was doing it for them and it'll be a nice surprise, I guess. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed reminding myself what I have going on. I have no idea what I'm going to work on next. I was going to keep out Beyond the Horizon. I don't know, as I pack these all neatly back into the WIP box that they fit, because at the moment it's kind of a chaotic pile. I will have a look through and pick what to keep out next. I think hopefully Greenhouse will get some work soon this month for the abandoned house now. That's the one sort of loose plan, other than keeping Beyond the Horizon out. Yeah, hope you've enjoyed. Let me know if you're stitching on any of these, because like I find it so motivating. Like if I see someone else posting about a project that I'm working on, it makes me want to get that project out and work on it. So yeah, if you're working on any of these at all, please let me know, and let me know your Instagram. If I might already follow you, but if I don't, I would love to come follow you. And yeah, we can share progress and see each other's updates on our common WIPs. Alfie has now chilled out a little bit, having gone a bit mental in the garden. I'm gonna go have some lunch and then not edit this because I'm gonna procrastinate that for at least a week. So yeah, see you when I see you. Happy stitching. Bye.